One of the best things you can do is have a marriage plan. Okay, when something come up, don't worry about the good times, we're gonna roll through that. But what if something comes up? Suppose I lose my job and I can't pay the bills. Are you gonna remind me that I'm not working? You know, like for you, we sitting up there, pulling our hair out, wearing our shoe leathers, and we just sent in 50,000 resumes, but they come back. Nobody needs to remind, right? You don't need you can see people why they have fights and cuts. Now in the old days they said in Christianity that for richer, for poor, sickness and health, something like that, death do us part. And you know what? A few people did that a long time ago. But people don't even remember that now. Right? Soon as something go wrong, hold it. That's the time to hold together. And if you look at old people who's been together a long time, when they talk, it ain't just we had that vacation we had, we went to Switzerland. No, they say, remember when it was tough and we had 4 meals a week and we pulled through. Boy, we buckled down. It was me and you all the way. That's their best time. That's the time they remember. Me and you pulled together through this, and everybody else flew all apart. So, you have to have a plan. We're in a movement. Now, we have to have a movement plan. Why? Because what happened to everybody else in the movement? That's enough to make you fold up your movement plan and say, hey man, I think, how about a sports plan or something, right? If you look at, right, what happens to people, it gets involved in this type of thing. But there are also perks with it. Stuff that goes along with it, hey man, that becomes natural. Allah gives you a certain nature. Looking at it, I was looking at Rouhani today. He was talking, and the whole majlis over there, when he finished, they were saying, Mag Bag America, death to America. Well, guess what? We told them a long time ago, America's already dead. Who killed it? You did. You don't have to say death to America no more. America is dead as a doornail. So you don't have to even say that anymore. Say nice things about it. Now there's another thing about all of this. You remember, you saw that movie Patton, right? Mm-hmm. And in Patton, they say that he believed in reincarnation. Okay. Because when he was at one battlefield in Tunisia or something, that would have been a Phoenician battle, he was saying that this is how this happened. And he was describing it as though he was there. And he would say, well, I was there, Then in another scene, they're in a certain situation, and he said something about the carts. And then he remembered in a battle 500 BC or something, the carts was a sign of the destruction of the enemy. The enemy was in bad shape. Now, they didn't show this in this movie, but it was a battle of the Bulge they was fighting. That was the last big German offensive in 1944. In the winter of 1944, they mentioned it in the movie because they said when they had him in retirement, They said the German army has never launched an offensive in the wintertime in its history. That's why everybody, all the allies, was taking it easy. He said that's exactly what they're going to do. And they did the Battle of the Bulge around November or December. But then you see that Eisenhower called him in to do the special job. Why? Because Eisenhower had sense. This guy is not qualified to run the whole strategic military. He's too erratic. But he got special characteristics. Skills. So what Eisenhower did was he kept him out of the game. And even old Patton is saying the same thing I said because I saw it in 1970. Patton says the whole world is at war and they're going to keep me out of it. Remember that? That's what he lives for.
He's a military genius.
He's a military genius. So they're going to need him. So Eisenhower keeps him on bed rest for a while. But the Battle of the Bulge come in and they say, man, we can't do this, we can't do that. And they said, could anybody do such and such a thing? He said, we can be ready in 2 or 3 hours. He said, what? Yeah. We ready for this. And he did it. You know, in other words, that was around Christmas time, 1944. But they needed him at a certain time. They knew his characteristics. They knew his flaws. We'll shine over the flaws, we'll get rid of him when they get out of line. But we need him to do this. Nobody else in their military establishment, the ones bigger than him, they won't do it because they're too smart in military stuff. We can't do that because we have to have too much food. We can't do that because we've got to carry too many blankets. We can't do this. Right, they're so studied in military jargon, and he don't do that. You know, one of the other things that they didn't show in this, but he was aware of in the Battle of the Bulge. The Germans had big tubes, siphoning tubes, you know, black tubes around it. When you captured, they'd have black tubes around, hoses, rubber hoses around their neck. So he looked, he says, how many guys we got? Like, I said, a whole lot of them. He said, good. Go on up and stop them up there. Why? They out of gas. Because they got them, you know, they used to siphon gas out of tanks. The whole German army is out of gas because they're stealing gas. When we stop one of their tanks, they go and suck all the gas out of that tank. If they can get to one of ours, whatever's out there, they're getting the gas. That means they're immobile. You see what I mean? But you got to be sharp. You got to be, you know, on the money to pick. Nobody else would pick it up. But people that that have certain characteristics, they can see all of those things. And I believe that's not abnormal. The Quran says that. I've read this stuff before. I'll read this part of it. Certainty has 4 corners: visioning the intelligence, uncovering the wisdom, cognizing the warnings, and cognizing the ways of past peoples. So whoever visions the understanding will cognize wisdom. Whoever uncovers the wisdom will cognize the warnings. Whoever cognizes the warnings will cognize the ways of old. And whoever cognizes the ways of old, it is as though he is among the past peoples. He is guided to that which is most upright. He sees who is saved and that by which he is saved. He sees who is destroyed and that by which he is destroyed. And Allah only destroys the ones who is destroyed through his disobedience, and he saves the one who is saved through his obedience. The key thing here is when the West would look at Patton those people, it said, he ain't got no real guidance. He said, well, I must have been here before. So he believes in reincarnation. He don't know, he didn't study the stuff so much, it's just soaked in. When he comes on it, he looks like I've been here before. When the white man attacks you and you didn't studied and been in it so much, you say, I've been here before. You don't even look around.
It's your subconscious.
You know, it's just like, now this is religious literature here, the same. It actually comes from Hadith. That if you cognize the ways of the people of old, it is though you are there with them and you see what saved them and you see what harmed them. Right? In our struggle, we have missed the point. It's not anything special. It's that we've been doing it so long. And first of all, history was a gift. It ain't like you just start. You can remember all the way back. You would look at certain things and you would think, even stuff that wasn't real. I'll give you one example. I saw a movie. It might have been about Desert Fox or something. That was Erwin Rommel. He was a great general in Germany. And he used to run Montgomery around in circles in Egypt. And it was a movie, it wasn't real. But you know, the Germans was in Egypt a lot in 1930s, especially 1936 on. There's excavators. Now, they showed in the movie that the Germans were burying petrol, because they visualized the war. They was burying petrol, they was burying tank parts, they was burying in the Egyptian desert everything that they would need to fight a war. And then in the movie it would show that Montgomery would have the Desert Fox, Erwin Rommel, surrounded out of gas and everything, and he would pop up with everything. This is just a movie. But I looked at that and I said, things are going to get tough. This is in the best time to get money hand over foot. Blood is boiling, flesh crawling from getting money. So I told my friend, when you go down to LA, here's extra money, buy 2 packages instead of 1, and bury 1. I was in the late 60s, in 1971. He was in the penitentiary. I went to the penitentiary because we are surrounded by the white man. We got heat on us bad. Nobody wanted to touch him. I went to the penitentiary. I said, hey man, where'd you bury that package at? So the white man and everybody else say, Big Hank is broke. He's broke. Big Hank is finished. They was standing there, and the referee was standing there, whoa! 2 days was counting the nigga out. Boy, it's cold-blooded how the people do you. I was looking at him. I was just looking at everybody. I was looking at the whole show. And I'd already been to the library. Anybody, and I was getting French tapes, you know. Comment allez-vous, monsieur? You know, très bien. You know, and all of that stuff. Encyclopedias on Algeria and all of that, because that's where I'm going. I showed my wife, you know, Encyclopedia Britannica. If this is 1970 or 71, the pictures are going to be in there from 1960, usually. She looked, I said, you want to go with me? She looked at them camels and stuff. No, I don't care if they ride rabbits, I'm getting out of here. But I'm telling you, the study of history, the stuff we have encountered is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Why? We've studied everybody. We know what's happened here. We know what happened before. So this ain't nothing new for us. We have seen it all over and over and over again. So our pattern has been the same one we're in right now. Situational analysis, scanning your environment, recognizing and recalling history, the behavior pattern of those around you, particularly your enemy, monitoring and evaluating strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Number 2, strategy formulation. This includes mission, your reason for existing. Why are we here? Goals, steps to be accomplished in working toward mission. 3, objectives, smaller results that must be achieved within the time limit. 4, strategies, plans, and methods to achieve the mission, goals, and objectives. 5, policies, broad guidelines for decision making. Number 3, strategy implementation. Now, many people are good at number 1 and 2, but doing it is the thing. This includes programs, activities needed to accomplish the overall plan, budgets, meeting the costs related to those programs and procedures, sequences of steps needed to do the job. Then evaluation and control, monitoring performance and taking corrective action. So we're right now, it's never clear that this is now you're in this stage. They all blend together. But the evaluation and control is where we are now, basically. What does that mean? Evaluation and control is we've evaluated all the time we've been here. For the last year, year and a half, it's been evaluating. How did we do? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? Right? You have to study yourself. You can't play with yourself and pat yourself on the back either, because it'll cost you your life somewhere along the line. So evaluation and control is what we've been doing all the time, because if this is the 8th or 9th process or cycle, remember this is a cycle, you go through the cycle over and over again. Scanning the environment. Most people, when they scan the environment of movement, they say, I don't want to have nothing to do with it. They look at it, they say, good God Almighty, it don't sound like no fun to me. And it don't. I mean, you got to be abnormal, what they call abnormal. I remember one of the snitches that had sabotaged us a lot, Hassan Nuruddin. He was there with us in California, and his brother was on this side with the Dar al-Islam movement. Now his brother is out there, the guy that drives that yellow Corvette that lives way outside of town, supposed to be coming to the Masjid to pray to help Mukhtar. He comes once a week. That was a year ago. I don't know what they're doing now. But evaluation and control. That's the strategic management process, but strategic management under repression is even more strenuous than technical strategic management only. Remember, if you're in the racing field, or if you're a business, all you got to do is outperform the other businesses. So, if you have a contest, a weightlifting contest, box, you only have to train to overcome that guy, right? Or if you're on a team, all you got to do with the rest of the team, right, is outperform one opponent of the other team. How do you think all of these great motivators would talk if they had to go against the government? How long would they last? I don't believe they'd last 30 seconds. I don't believe they would do it. You can be anything you want to be. All you have to do, and that's true if you minding your business and you're not trying to change the world. If you get in the innate system, all you got to do is get out there with your motivation and your plan, action plan, and get busy. And you can make it in that system. But suppose you are going to go directly against the system. Now, bad boy, let's see. You got to study what happens to people in history that do that. What happened to them? Yeah? Well, what's going to happen to you? Well, you got to have a plan. Okay. Part of our plan, going back to Oakland, is we're pushing a constitutional amendment. Well, this is psychological. But we're going to be everywhere. When we come back here, we're going to be doing the same thing. But out there, what do we put? What do you mean an amendment? The government, like they had a Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. Right? You're right against some legal search. See, you have a lot of rights that don't kind of mean the same thing they used to. But we push it. This is psychological warfare. We don't care whether they put it in there or not. To give the human being the right to stand his own ground against the government. What is the threshold where the government is so oppressive to an individual, right, that he can respond or challenge that system with any means he views necessary, and that is constitutional? Because now it's not constitutional. We want the Constitution to prevent the government from saboteurs in a movement. We just want that. Infiltrators, right? Agent provocateurs, assassinators, all of that. We want a constitutional amendment, just like they got a constitutional amendment for the freedom of speech, press, and religion. And in that is freedom of association. Well, if you associate with me, you ain't going to be that popular with the government. That is wrong. We going to push. Now, remember them loud, we're going to be pushing this. We're going to be in front of the Oakland Tribune. When we come back here, we're going to be in front of the what's the name? We're going to have all our paperwork. The government has done A, B, C, and D, and we're going to only talk about the things they have done. The government has infiltrated here are the infiltrators. We'll put them last though. The government has attacked our masjid. We got the witnesses, we got everything. The OPD, the FBI, the CIA, and nobody said nothing. The government has arrested the owner or the manager of the property with the deed in his hand and took him to jail and harmed him. They kicked us behind, basically what they did. It's no big deal. But if it was somebody else, it would be a big deal. We want a constitutional amendment. The government have not spoken up for the rights of the individual, mainly me. On nothing, right? I mean, it's all everybody in the world know that's what they did. As though they have a right. they technically went to the bank and the government let them take money out and took me off the count. When the bank talks to me, they talk to me like I'm a thief. Well, I said, good God Almighty, I'm the one open the account. You can't get no more information on that. Of course, I'd already got it way ahead of time. Of course, I didn't see what they was going to do. The government, Mukhtar and his people, have sold property. I don't know how much it's worth. 8101 to 8121. That's a lot of property. Sold it. Well, I mean, they act like they sold it. Nobody defended our rights. The government didn't know what they was doing. The government didn't know they gave him the right. Well, 2 times you come to the Masjid with Mukhtar. No, 3 times. 1, he shoot the dogs. That's 1 time. 2, he bring them there to get me out of the Masjid at 12:30 at night. And forget stealing $11,000. After you just stole $100,000, what's $11,000? Ain't nothing. There's so many things that, only thing about these things, they're all recorded. We have 10 times as many things as we need. So, yes.
The government has no right to be interfering in your business.
The government
Especially if
has
you done anything wrong. They have no right to interfere in your business just because they're the government. That's wrong.
That's actually wrong, and that's what we're taking to the, that's our favor to the people for the 21st century. And that's what we've been working on this all along. Right. Because you got a plan, you gotta have a plan. And how easy is it to plan? Well, it's according to what you got to think about your enemy. What does he think? What does he think about himself? What does he think about you? Remember, you got to study his monitoring and evaluating, particularly your enemy, monitoring and evaluating strengths is called SWOTs. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What's his weakness? The first weakness is we monitored niggas, we the ones created the nigga mind. That's the way he feels, right? Therefore, we know the perimeter of his thinking because we created him. He can't think outside, I don't care, he can't think outside of that perimeter because we have not gave him permission. We have not sanctioned him. Now you got to remember how he thinks about you, not how you really are, but that's what he thinks about you. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. You said, man, that ain't right. They think it's wonderful if you're going to fight him, right? You can't do nothing about what he think about you. You could use that. Now, this is the 7th or 8th, I don't know how many cycles because there's no clear day of when it begins and what it is. Like going back to California, we've been headed back there for I don't know when, but I think I'll go back, I'll just wait till pay all the bills. Days 29, 30. I don't know, maybe Wednesday or Thursday is 1st or 2nd. I'll wait till the 2nd, pay the bills, then I'll go. I'll really go this time. If, yes.
It's the same thing that Pharaoh said to the magicians. When they decided they're going to follow what Musa and Harun were about, he said, you're going to do that without my permission?
Without my permission.
I didn't give you permission to do that. I didn't give you permission to think outside the box.
That's right. And for that, I'm going to cut your hands and feet off on opposite sides and stick you up on the cross.
That's what he said.
Hey, man, he ain't playing. He said, you know, that guy and his brother, they want to change your very, they ain't just talking about doing this. They want to change your very cherished institutions.
That's right.
Us, of course. change the institution, because it's institutional racism. The young kids are not racist anymore, but the police, it's a racist system. It's a racist court system. All the systems are racist, right?
That's right.
The people, the young people, I don't care nothing about the old niggas, and all up running together. You can see in the New York Times, I saw them advertise a young Negro with a young white girl, and they selling coats. Who cares? And they like all the singers. I know my kids, they just listen to whichever ones. I said, that's a white lady. That's fine. It don't make no difference. They don't care. Because they ain't like when we come up, that's black music. We don't listen to that other till you get to be around them. Push constitutional right of citizen to defend itself from systematic conspiracies, transgenerational conspiracies. Used for Oakland, right. In other words, the next few days, right. Okay. Focus. Pray, write, work out. So that's what I'm going to do in Oakland. Pray. I'm going to write and I'm going to work out. There ain't nothing new about that. This is what I always do anyway. Focus. Oakland, Stalingrad, same for DC's. What does that mean? I know I said this a lot, but remember, the title of this is Imam Musa Strikes Back. But we don't strike back like the empire strikes back. We're striking, if they struck us with meanness, hatred, we're striking back with kindness, with compassion, even, I dare say, love. Boy, that'll hold they behind. Yes, because they don't think niggas can do it unless they sanction it. Yes.
And all that's Quranic.
Because
Because
it's
Allah says repel evil.
We're good.
So that's what Allah said. That's what works.
Exactly. Well, see, here's the thing. Nobody thinks anybody's going to be, you know, we'll be talking sometime and you said, Hadith said this and that. I said, yeah, but that ain't what they don't care nothing about what the Quran. They're reading it in Arabic in their own language. I remember Iquan came over here and they had, you may not remember, but one of them was stoned, sitting back there. He was a big shot. One with a long beard. Then they had a little conference. Oh, well, you're near the sheikh. I said, no, we don't need no sheikh. We love y'all. But they had just combined with Ikna, and Mass had just combined. So they was going to combine. Abdul-Malik was telling them that we got it covered. So they was over here to join up with us, or technically, us to join with them. You need a shake? I said, hell no. I don't need y'all scared and you're going to come teach us fear. We don't need to be scared. You know what I mean? And another one said, well, I saw one guy downstairs, he was making wudu improperly. I said, that's why we ain't nobody paying no attention to you. If you're going to come over here, all these people is new in Islam. And so what, he make wudu improperly? He probably don't come to prayer class. We teach all that in prayer class.
The voodoo police.
Yeah. Well, he's trying to show that we're not, I said, oh no, we don't do that.
It's ridiculous. They did back in my hometown in Richmond, they had an Eid prayer where the Eid Kupa was about how to properly make wudu.
They'll do it.
Wallahi, I kid you not.
Oh no, they've been having them kubas, man, for 35
But
years.
the Eid prayer, that was, oh my
They
God.
do that in Islamic Center all the time.
Yeah,
Now remember, as we move toward a close, the stuff of waliya, the stuff of patent,